Okay. In the name of God, the most benevolent and the most merciful, in honor of the presence of the most advanced, unconditional, original moment of being that all conditional simulations of reality have arisen from. We are not in an empty world, we are in a very intelligent place. And I will speak to the intelligence of this world as a member and as a part of the intelligence of this world. This lecture is, I guess, for me, in regards to its architecture of like the images behind the sentence, it's a very beautiful lecture to me. And so it's honestly a privilege to give this lecture to this in this moment. So, where to begin in the human odyssey, in the journey of consciousness into the experience of its own existence? Dear viewers, what is going on in this world is not as simple as a bunch of words. It is a lifetime of a recognition. And so I speak to you now, not as a human being, because my awareness, it's been a while now that has become aware of the dehumanized. I do acknowledge that the human consciousness, it is a state. My whole life in my youth, I was conditioned to believe it was so real, it was so solid, it was always there. And then I grew up into this reality and I realized it is a condition. It is kept based on the conditions of the moment. That means I could have whatever story of a character. The reality of life is so fascinating, folks. It's nothing we've seen before, and that's the point. I was conditioned to believe that I was a physical being in a physical world. Okay, and the mind was a question mark. You know, was a semi question mark, and or let's say the mind was an exclamation point, and the soul was a question mark. I did not give myself a moment to breathe until 2011. And then there were other moments of giving myself, giving the world a moment to breathe, and giving myself a moment where I don't have to be what the world communicates, and to actually discover the original presence of my life. You folks, I don't know how you understand spirituality. I don't know how they opened up the story of the world for you. But in actuality, if you are truly honest with yourself, you will see all of it clearly. And this system is designed, okay, that the room you enter, you tend to identify with. So if you identify as a conditional being, you would be limited to rooms of reality. In the presence of a world we don't fully understand, we're all acting like we know what's going on, and that's scary. There's nothing scarier than a species lying to itself, do you know? And it's in some sense terrifying. Let me tell you why. Because whatever expression an artificial being has, the intensity of the true expression of an original being is way more. So I don't know how else to explain to you. If somebody is being fake in front of you and you trust that fake person, okay, there will come a moment where their real self will be shown, and it will be a different intensity than what they have shown. Ooh. All right, let's go into the deep. We're alive once, this moment happens once, and now I understand why birds fly regardless of who watches. Because the sky calls them forth, the endless, the edgeless sky. And so I tried. I tried calling the world to its most advanced position, only to realize humanity is not the most advanced position. The awareness to it is more capable, though. So this is what's going on. I reached a point in this lifetime after 12,400 days on this planet. Okay, I came into the conclusion that it doesn't matter how I live or where I live or what I was, because there's an ontological relationship, okay, and there's a epistemological relationship. There is your way and there is what the actual way is. And so in this lifetime, I just realized, man, I could have been born anywhere else. And probably after 12,000 days, after 12,400 plus times of logging in and out of the world, yo, that means wake up, live, go to sleep, wake up, go to sleep, you know, like 12,000 plus 12,400 times. And they've distracted us. Yeah, dumbasses, celebrate your birthday so you don't count the days, you don't count the seconds, and you ignore the value of every moment. You know, they fooled us. I dislike birthdays. Do you know what I mean? I'm sorry, I don't dislike celebration and happiness of others. I dislike, acting like a simulation is real. Like, I understand, there's some, if the viewers, like, I understand if you're somebody who's in your 90s listening to this lecture, I expect nothing of you. You have done your service, whether you know it or not. You know, but when I am speaking to the younger generation, and the youngest generations are the unborn generations. They're like, what's the youngest person you can speak to? Yeah, they haven't been born yet, but they will hear these talks one day. And they'll be like in the madness of the world, in the madness of the world, in the chaos of the greed of world leaders, forgetting what the species is in the desires of their own success. The future generations are going to be like there was some silly dude giving 10,000 talks. Like, how funny. In the middle of the world ending, some dude was giving 10,000 talks. Yeah, guys, laugh. Laugh with an honor that we lived through this era. That's all it is. That's all the purpose of life is. Get history through this era. Advance them. Now I understand. You don't understand it, guys. I have this, I see something now in my inner realms, okay, that I think I understand every person, like Martin Luther King, Gandhi, any of these guys who gave a speech to the outer realms. They were crying behind their eyes. You don't understand. It's like there's moments where your mind is incredibly powerful in the outer realms, but your soul is weeping behind it. And there's many, many. And let me tell you why. Because I'll give you Martin Luther King as an example. He said, I have a dream that my children live in a world where they're not judged by the color of their skin, but by their character and their actions. Behind his eyes, he was crying why the world wasn't there yet. That is the lament of greatness. You get pushed. The world pushes you. You don't say anything. Your parents raised you to be a good guy. Don't do anything. Don't hit back. Don't fight. The world pushes. The world pushes. And then one moment comes where the world crushes you. And when I say crushes you, not externally, like it pushes your will, that means suddenly there is no willpower anymore. But then, because it's been pushing yourself, you're like, yeah, I don't care about myself. But the moment you see the world is pushing the potential of humanity, ladies and gentlemen, you're not in a world where there's life and death. You don't get it. There's one side of this world that lives for the future, and there is one side of this world that does not. God is the future. Shaitan is the past. Therefore, to me, I think in some sense, if somebody allows, how do I explain it to you? You have to be human first. Then be whatever hat you want to wear. Then go cosplay in whatever ideological, storyline you want to live in. Because there will come a moment where all of you will be looked at by the higher sight. And that moment is intense. And some beings realize it. Some beings realize we're all like a bunch of, clueless kids, like in this location. And we're like, yo, man, what are we supposed to do here? We're all goofing around as a species. And then in some sense, in the afterlife review, how dare soldiers on the battlefield not stay true to their commands, the commands of their soul. That means, let me tell you this, I could become like somebody, like let's say all the billionaires on the planet, the smartest billionaires on the planet could gather around and they could be like, all right, let's make this guy king. And I'll be like, I can't carry. It's like the only people I see wearing crowns. That means no offense. The kings of modernity is cosplay. It is only serving the kingdoms of the future. That makes you human. How dare we let the dehumanized devour all the civility that our ancestors worked for? Every time I see violence, chaos, there's a part of me like, you idiots, do you not see what has been built? It's like the rage of the preservers. The madness of the scribe. For there is one common pattern, it's one common algorithm. The saviors of humanity are those who care for it. That means, oh, cruel conquerors of the realm, you know who you are behind your eyes. I don't care if you're in a poverty stricken country, you know what souls you are. You know, that means the animal that has bit another animal knows it's an animal. I'm sorry. There's a point that in some sense the soul crosses that only like the might of like the whole kingdom's army. That means they're like, yo, how do we save that soul from slipping into hell? Pray to God to send an army of angels. And as every holy book has said, you look for signs. The signs are already there. We prayed for an army of angels. Now there's 8.1 billion souls in this void, in this world. Sorry, guys, the weather in Canada is super cold and my window's open at the same time. But I'm also trembling because I see my future self shouting at me. I don't know how that's even possible. The only way I see it possible is like right now at my future self's memory. But ultimately, the future self of all beings is a systematic. Oh, system admin, for how long should this species tremble in the unknown? For how long shall our species fear what it can be in the presence of what it cannot? That means in history we've had rebellions, okay? And rebellions are usually against, like, states, and these are outer rebellions. And the era of the inner rebellions are arising. The inner rebellion of mankind is realizing that an unnatural civilization that is slowly pushing the masses into dehumanization. Let me tell you, the human being has a roar. It's not a lion. It doesn't have like a jaw that big. Not everybody's an opera singer, but the human soul has a roar. Okay? And that roar is that in the territory of its heart. Do you know the world right now? It's like like right now people are like, yo man, there's no aliens, there's no alien invasion. But when you look at how civilization has been designed, civilization 1.0 right now, and you look at how civilization could be designed, and you're like, wait a minute, there is no alien invasion, but we're seeing the results of an invasion. Okay, the health of the human body is diminishing. Do you know? Because the economy is like, yo, we need, man, how do I say it? We have to fight the unnatural before we forget what nature is. That's devastation. That's another way of saying that's epistemic entropy. If human consciousness no longer has the net reference point of a biological natural human, then in some sense we become lost. There's that scene in Game of Thrones where that, I don't know, I forget that guy's name, that like guy with like, a noble soul, Theon tells him something, like executes him in Game of Thrones, right? And the guy, before he gets executed, he says, now you're really lost. Okay, and our species is not at that point yet. Okay, but it is at that point that human beings were like, yeah, man, we used to be in the jungle, we used to be in the food chain, we used to have the ecosystem tell us what to do, and we were looping in the environment. We suddenly became conscious, and yo, the human being right now is so much more advanced than lesser animals. Like, we have this attitude, right? Now, here's the hilarious thing. It is true, yes, we noticed beyond the environment, okay, and human beings were capable of shared meaning, and we stepped out of the food chain into civility, into civilization. But human beings are not responsible. That means old habits die hard. Okay? Right? So think of it this way: your biological body is an ancient, outdated system designed initially for a natural environment. But after like 300,000 years of like doing homework as a species, do you know what we have to show? What we have to, what, excuse me, I made myself laugh there. It's like, who's grading this 300,000-year-old homework? Oh, Mr. Within's attempting it. It means we have been programmed for 300,000 years to not behave naturally. And right now we're in this middle ground where we're like, yo, man, we took a step out of nature's room into like language's room. So we are right now like, just like, okay, so the definition of a cyborg is like half robot, half human. Okay. And right now in 2026, we may look at biological humans and be like, we don't see any cyborgs here. But in actuality, okay, we are cyborgs, but we are subjective cyborgs. That means to me, the individual is 50% a subject, 50% a human, all right? You know, like you're 50% like stuff, 50% you're stuff that can think about itself. You're stuff that can move itself, yo. You know, you're the most advanced stuff out there, you know, for now, you know. I don't know, guys. You know, I guess the moment's trying to cheer me up. But ultimately, what I'm trying to tell you is that the alien invasion, we don't see any alien, but the results are human body is like processing, like there's sugar everywhere. There's like freaking oven grease everywhere. Like, you know, I'm waiting for that day when there's a charity, a non-profit against oven grease and sugar. You know what I mean? Imagine a non-profit that wants to fight bacteria, and they're like, buddy, that's the medical practice. That's called a hospital. Oh man, sorry guys, I'm getting carried away. Oh my god. All right, all right. Let me break my heart so I can stabilize. All right, guys, what am I saying here? I'm pretty much telling you that, like, you know, just like how, like, you were fed food as a kid, you were also fed ideas and emotions that weren't yours. They were pretty much based on your role's identity. I'll give you an example. If somebody says, "Who are you?" to me, right? There's various archetypes I could give it as an answer. You know, I could say like, I'm someone's brother, I'm someone's son. Do you know? I'm someone's grandson. Do you know what I mean? I could say I'm a citizen of the cosmoplex. It's like that escalated quickly. I'm a member of the human species. You think I'm here identifying? You guys can play this cosplay. I was never that much into cosplay. Do you know what I mean? But I didn't realize the whole species is internally doing cosplay. All of you are generating the ideas of yourself in the moment, and your emotions aren't even based on your idea. They're based on your awareness to how your ideas, how your expectations were met in the outer realms. It's like so basic at some point that we got to really wonder about the context of reality. For me, everybody's just concept hopping. They're hopping from one concept. Like if I ask you, yo man, explain your life, you're like, yeah man, in this time I was this kind of person, at this time I was that kind of person. And I'm like, buddy, you're hopping from character to character to character. And you might be like, yo man, I had no choice. There was like deep sleep in the middle. And I'll be like, yeah, it does appear that a sleeping entity is legit, like the world speaking. We're the communication of the world, in some simpler sense, okay? And just like you have spaces between the words in a sentence, you have different animations of the same human being in different moments. Einstein was writing a like important essay, and some dude was like, "Hey, Einstein, what time is it?" And Einstein was like, "No way." Do you know what I mean? And general relativity was born. Special relativity. Two essays that if Einstein was reincarnated and gave those essays to teachers, they'd be like, "Yo, man, don't use ChatGPT." It is honestly the advancement of your life force. What else can I say? How can a human being help another human being? How can 8.1 billion humans help everything that they're experiencing? Do you know what is the like we have to, on some level, like even though we're not it, like I'm that person. Let me tell you, if somebody's like, yo man, are you smart? If somebody asks me that, I'll be like, I can explain it like this. I don't know how smart or stupid I am, because that has to do with how I end up. It has to do with my outcome. Do you know? Because we're living in a civilization that cares for outcome. They don't care for your journey. Nobody sees how many times you practice something. They just see you perform, and they're like, yo, that guy's gifted. you know and they don't understand the search that actually went for the findings to simply be shown to others. That means some dude back in the day climbed a tree, like found bananas for the first time, and got those bananas. Like it was a journey. He fell from the tree. It was crazy. An animal stared at him. He freaked out. He grabbed the bananas and he ran to the tribe, and he brought it to the tribe. And so nobody in the tribe knew the cost of what it took to bring those bananas to the tribe. They just were like, bananas, oh, and they engaged it. And that's the true, like, hard work that's going on in the world. It's not just because in the outer realms you're working for some sort of social construct that you have value. The value is how your eyes have opened to all of this at all. What is the point? Like after 12,000 days, yeah, I ask these questions. They're like, yo, man, you're too deep. I'll be like, yeah, live 12,000 days on this planet and tell me if you're not deep or not. Like, you're going to notice loops. You're going to notice patterns. You're going to notice your own patterns. You're going to notice that there's ways that your brain has been conditioned. And you're going to be like, oh my God, is there ever a way to change me because I've been sculpted in a certain way? And the answer is yes, if you were never this. Through the realization that ultimately, if you ask me why I am, I'll be like, buddy, what do you want me to say? I'm energy, yo. Okay. And they're like, well, yo, you can't be energy, because we have to believe you're a created being. You're a created entity in the narrative of the world. And I'm like, yo, man, they've limited. Like, this is the hilarious thing. They could go find so many scientific findings that are nonfiction, and eventually the collective global narrative fiction is going to filter it. That means it's hilarious. I kind of feel, it makes me sad thinking about how tough, you know atheists and, in some sense, materialists have it. Like, I like how, like, it's so, like, you guys need intense psychological stabilizing methods or something, because let me tell you, it is scary when someone who can see more, like, if you can see like seven dimensions but you act like you only see one, then you are, how do I say it, it's like, to lie to yourself is to steal your own life from yourself, is to steal your own lifetime. Which is another way of saying, I shouldn't say it like that, I should say it probably like, yo, there's your presence is original because it's instantaneous. Your personality is simulated because it's in a dualistic context. So honestly, everybody's in their own, every imagine there's a sphere around everybody and everybody only sees what's inside the sphere, okay? And this sphere, do you know, it was it was transparent, and as they grow older it becomes less transparent. When you're younger it's more transparent. So I want you to imagine that everybody has a bubble around them, like a sphere around them, okay? And they only see what's inside the sphere, and it takes a while, okay, to figure out how to step out of what your brain is programmed to want everything to mean, and to actually feel the neutrality. This is what it means to give the world a moment to breathe. And I'm saying this not to just everyone, I'm saying this to even the world leaders right now. And of course, I can't, they might not hear this lecture, but I speak to their souls as being in the same existence server. Do you know? That means, in some sense, it is not worth it, that nations break each other when civility, like, like how many generations of kids. Let me tell you why everybody in the world is horrified. Because the ethics of the whole planet and the internet is even higher than the ethics of, like, let's say, global governance. Do you know what that means? That means there's humans that go and save animals from like storms and like from shelters. Do you know, they go and care for lesser life forms. But on that same planet there's human beings killing humans massively. It's weird. To me this is weird. This is psychosis. That means they're like, yo man, are you psychotic because you're crazy, or because the whole cultural program is designed in a sort of old fashioned psychotic way? Do you know, that means, oh man, the Power Rangers didn't realize they can assemble. It's like, all these small robots didn't realize they can join and become a giant robot. Do you know, that means when the United Species arises, when Unity Species Day happens, when the smartest politicians on the planet suddenly accept to be the final politicians in history, all the politicians on the planet could do something genius right now. They don't realize it. And I'm that person who always, just, I've been like this since my childhood. I've always seen further there than where I am, and I wonder why. What is the most advanced position for awareness? And I have come to this realization that once these 8.1 billion people step out of their inner realms, they're going to realize the outer realms, and they're going to be horrified that while the film of the world was playing, they were distracted by their own film of the world overlaying on the actual film of the world. And the fact that I've as a human being found myself capable of saying this to you is not a it's not a testament to my ability, it's a testament to the system admin's mercy. To me, there is God here, but God is beyond anything that is conditional. Therefore, to me, I'm like, what's the coolest thing a conditional and simulated entity can do for the short time that it's here, in contrast to everything that's here? And so, really, one, I've strategized it in two. One, try to see the system as clearly as possible, and two, try to advance the system as much as possible. And then there's going to come a moment where, I don't know, maybe at the full throttle of my whole, like my in the middle of like my full best effort, maybe I pass away. you know I've seen it in my dreams. I've died in the outer realms. There were a couple moments where I felt my soul was leaving the world, you know, and I just accepted it because I was like, wait a minute, man. I didn't choose the shape of existence, I accepted it. So what happens next is another acceptance. The only difference is now I'm conscious. So the only choice is, do you consciously accept what will happen next as a soul? And there you find the meaning beyond all worlds. To me, I'm like, okay, I'm not alone. Even if an alien species attacks, even if humans, some shadow humans are doing like some messed up stuff or whatever, or controlling everything. Like, I don't know why they're doing that. It's unnecessary. You know, like the moment you have humor is the moment we experience love and humor was the moment that all dehumanized archetypes could understand what it means to be human, which is to, in a conditional world, to love unconditionally, to accept unconditionally. This is a power that humans have. That means, there's moments where I've gotten angry and I've just looked at the person I've wanted to like release my anger on, and I'm like, I have no clue who this person is. This is like not normal, and I've just internalized my anger and just in my inner realms, like, I don't know, like shattered a building like the Hulk or something. I don't know. I've learned to express myself in the inner realms, and it's very simple, and it's so fascinating because so many of you guys right now, you are in the ignorance that is bliss zone, and that's a blessing because with greater awareness comes the greater responsibility. With the more your awareness increases, the more your responsibility is not yours. It's you become responsible for power that is beyond your body, beyond your ideas. You realize the world has been moving. This world has existed. You opened your eyes in the middle of history. Do you know, as far as I'm concerned, I was born on December 17, 1991, 9 a.m. in Tehran, Iran. Okay. And that's when I teleported into human history, as far as I'm concerned. That's when there was a human being that existed here. There was a human being that started noticing this existence, and reached a point where he was like, okay, what is experiencing this? And then realized, oh my God, it's unknown. And I was fascinated by the unknown soul until God was merciful and God had mercy on me, and in some sense showed me that, buddy, you think though you are like, yo man, this guy's so spiritual, he thinks he has a soul. Excuse me, what if there is something behind the world, behind all of it? What if the truth of power is beyond the personalizations of a temporary condition? What if what is truly going on is so majestic that it is just an honor? It's as if, like, to me, you don't understand. On some level, oh man, I'm a human being that exists, and human life is like a bell curve, and we young and energetic, and we grow old, and and we leave this realm, and I'm like, oh man, But on some level, there's my mind is, how do I say it? It's like the part of you that can't go further than your eyes is your body, like your physical awareness. The part of you that can go further than this is your awareness to your inner realms. Okay, and I think, done a good job so far in so many lectures, if you search inner realms, in explaining the inner realms. I'm like, yo, I don't have time, to, like, have courses. I mean, on some level maybe I will, but I'm thinking right now, like, yo, advance humanity, advance. It's as if, like, there's an urgency. I feel it's like when we thought all was lost, or as that poet Rabindranath Tagore says, in the darkest hour, that bird flying in the darkest moment of its life, in the darkest hour of the day, of the night, suddenly begins to feel the warmth of the sun rays on its wings, and suddenly it's as if, as it continues to endure, because the only thing that religion is asking you, religion is not saying, yo, go and do all these things. Religion is saying, guys, stop acting like God, because the true God is beyond here. You're within a divine surveillance state. You're within a testing zone. Your life is not does not just the value of your life is not just how you see a value in it. It has value beyond your understanding. You don't know what moments you're required to exist in, but ultimately you have consciousness, free will. You have an ability to scan your realm, and you have an ability to go towards the most advanced state. There is nothing greater to do here, folks. I don't understand what all of you guys are doing aside from looping in survival in an unupdating civilization, because ideas have become more real, and instead of ideas being our servants, we are, in some sense, the slaves of ideas that don't allow us to see ourselves differently. Rise, mankind, beyond the invasion of how the outer realm says, I know this is what I think. And you have to be like, I understand, oh world, you existed before me, but now I am. And the soul activates, aligning to the higher order processes of its realm. In other words, if you're standing in an empty room right now, you're playing this game of Earth like a noob. Okay, if you want to play this like let's say a pro player, you want to play this Earth game like a pro player, you have to realize no one like you has ever existed before. No one has your DNA. Nobody knows who you really are behind your eyes, including yourself. And in front of your eyes, it's just a performance. And those foolish enough to believe your performance, they somehow relate. The horizons of this world are beyond the clouds of ideology. The candle burns. Well, there was a quote, I think Nietzsche said it. I don't know who said it. There was this quote in philosophy. It was like, you know, those who shine the brightest, their light kind of diminishes quicker. Do you know? Like, if I was destined to live 200 years, maybe, like, if I really intensely live 100 years, that'll be equivalent to the 200 years. It's the intensity of life. But ultimately, I'm telling you guys, a majority of human biological energy goes to trying to process how to be a character in the world story. And the honest truth is, you'll never fit in. Do you know why? Because nobody knows what you are. Nobody can see your inner realms. How can you fit in? The system is not designed to account for your inner realms. When I was like grade 9, I was in Iran. Grade 10, I went to Canada, From grade 4 to 9, I was in Iran. And when I went back to, in some sense, how do I say it? When I went back to Canada, I was grade 10, I was there. The behavior of the environment did not translate to my value system. And so it was non existential. And it's so fascinating, like how you hold yourself suggests how you find yourself in the world, really, or how you pilot your attention in this plane of existence, as eloquently as I can say. So to me, right now, 8.1 billion humans, if like what would it look like if they gave the world a moment to breathe? That means everybody stops assuming they know what is correct. Anytime everybody starts assuming they know what's correct, that's like equivalent to like madness. They're like, yo, man, when we have more than one true answer, that's when it's like madness, yo. You know? Because human beings need to live in a system where they can be simple and complex, where they can be complex and simple. Why? That means we can't, like a complex system that can't allow a being to be simple in it is not really a complex system. And you guys have to understand, we as a species have not united yet so that together everybody on the planet votes, on like the same policies of universalism. Do you understand how epic that would be? It would be like the greatest survey or the greatest vote ever cast in human history, where the first global vote, everybody on the planet was voting like, yo, should all nations become part of, become sub nations to the one nation of humanity? And so, in some sense, countries will sing two anthems. One is the first is the Nation of Humanity anthem that acknowledges all the sectors of reality. By just reading that, by just as children singing that anthem, they will become advanced human beings, very advanced human beings. Because to me, I realized it's so okay. Let me tell you, I had an experience that I never imagined it would translate intellectually in the way I'm going to tell you now. So I was in Dubai 2 years ago, and this was after I had an experience and I had truly embraced Islam. I was called to this because I understood it as the only view where truth is not equal to anything in the conditional realm. And so there came a day where I was like, God, give me a sign. And I went and I did wuzu and I prayed. And after I prayed, I got up right after prayer, very feeling pure. I went and opened the Holy Quran, and this passage opened up that not just gave me goosebumps, and I felt like tears, like there were tears of like relief arising from my soul. So I went with the intention, God, give me a sign, show me what to do. And I opened this passage in the Holy Quran that said, the signs are all there. You don't see. And I was like, whoa, what is the true command of my soul? That is what I have been searching for. Because I've already understood. This is the lobby. The main hall is unconditional, guys. That means it's the relationship of attention with the whole field of being rather than a physical node in the field, trying to live in the whole field's possibility. In other words, because there's so many ways to look at things, there's endless ways to give things meaning. Therefore, endless worlds. So this world is designed not to make sense. It's designed to be incomplete. You think you have to only complete it, but you realize no. it as an individual, the moment you realize there's infinite ways to look at something, or there's countless viewpoints, and you're like, which viewpoint is true, yo? That's when you realize there requires to be a higher agency outside of the simulation where man is inside and getting meaning. So it's like, not only, so 8.1 billion people, there's spheres around them. The whole humanity, our whole human civilization, is a giant sphere we're in. And so far we haven't even gone beyond that sphere. We're struggling inside the sphere. I see the geometry of civilization, folks. It's spheres inside spheres. It's very strange. Human governance is molecular. It looks molecular. This world is like one unconditional original moment that has simulated so many different moments. All these different moments are realizing they're simulated from the same unconditional moment. The only way out of a conditional reality is to realize you're not just a conditional being. If you're not a conditional being, what are you? It's beyond you. And according to Islamic theology, the unseen is in the jurisdiction of man, which translates ultimately through all this processing as faith, yo. Because you don't have the info that is outside of your own universe. This is why you require a higher agency. This is why I'm saying those people who are saying there's nothing on this planet, they're noobs. They don't see it. And the reason they don't see it is because they're looping. It's common. And that's the challenge of being human. The challenge of being human. Like, do you remember that scene from Transformers where the car was kind of like, messy, and then the kid's like, yo man, I wish this car looked like this and didn't look like a piece of trash. And then the car, like, I don't know, hit a hypothetical speed bump, and it became the car that sponsored the show. So in the same way, of course, I see it, and I understand that every person who will listen to my talks, just like I listen to so many different talks in my lifetime, you know, the greatness of our realities integrate within one another. It's the same thing. I bring my original findings to the tribe. The tribe is 8.1 very advanced human beings. And if there was, I don't know, if I had an attitude, like, how would I say it, if humanity was, I don't know, if extraterrestrials wanted to land on Earth, I think that before we knew when they were going to land, I think all governments, like the united humanity at that point, let's say it's that far in the future, the whole nation of humanity, the planet, technically equal sign planet. They're like, no way, guys. The borders were meaningful behind our eyes, but the actual meaning is a human species living in an environment. Everybody agrees to that. I'm just saying that and what an extraterrestrial means is we have a new agency in human consciousness that can generate meaning to reality. Whether it's efficient or inefficient for our species, we don't know. But the answer should be no, I think. That means, how do I explain it? Before aliens land down, I'll create something. I'll take it into my sci-fi universe where I'm comfortable talking about. Okay. So in my sci-fi, in one of my sci-fi works, the Andromeda galaxy is a very advanced civilization. And so they are our neighboring galaxy, and my sci-fi starts in the year 5025, one of them. Okay. And so I'm telling you that, imagine these extraterrestrials, very advanced extraterrestrials, like they give a sort of message that they're going to arrive, like in, like, I don't know, like 10 years or something, and the whole planet prepares, do you know and on some level, when the moment arises, everybody on the planet is wearing navy blue, do you know every person, man, woman, girl, child, everyone's wearing a navy blue suit, legit a suit. Do you know? With like advanced technology watches and eyewear or something, but we all look like the people from the Matrix, but with navy blue suits. Everybody, do you know? And so the species seems in union. Okay, right? So we don't appear to the speech to these extraterrestrials. I mean, they're gonna be like, we've been scanning you before we knew you guys knew about us, but we'll be like, it doesn't matter. Like we have this sort of standards, right? And so we present ourselves in a unified front, and we also align ourselves to the higher power of our agency. Because you do you know the game Yu-Gi-Oh? Like, do you remember that show or that card game? I used to collect those cards as a kid. I still have a rare card deck, I think, somewhere. In that game, there was one character who's like, "Yo, man, this my card is more powerful than your card," and then the other person was like, "No, this card, CARD, this card is more powerful than your card," right? You know, and it was constantly this level upping of each other. Okay, and if we go into that game, the United Human Front goes into that game with like, let's say, the first diplomatic extraterrestrial contact. Extraterrestrials would be like, we have this kind of power, and we would look at the aliens and be like, externally we have like this power, but internally we are a species that is conscious of the system admin. In other words, you should treat us as sacred. That means this is the case, guys. We're not a normal species. We're close to this world host. Our species is close to the world host. So many other species are distant. You know, a puppy's face, a kitten's face is adorable, but their consciousness is distant from the world host. Not that it's distant, it's in some sense that the world host, humans have a conscious engagement. You know, so never forget that you being alive in this world, it's not like, yo, man, what's the purpose of my life? The purpose of your life is everybody's here for the first time trying to get a sense of what is going on. Civilization already has a story to feed you if you can't ask the questions yourself. So, anyways, when I say, can we all give the world a moment to breathe, I am doing something strange because in the presence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in the presence of the one and only system administrator that is uncreated and unconditional being, the original moment before any simulated world could have entities arise, simulate entities be simulated on it, or the world be commanded into a simulation theologically. So, what does it mean that 8 billion human souls give the whole world a moment to breathe? It means both the inner realms and the out. It means both the outer world and the inner world. You give the outer world a moment to breathe by stop judging it and assuming it that what you see it as is what it is. And when you do that, you release so much unnecessary like energy. Like so many humans waste unnecessary energy by trying to be different. But I'm telling you, for me, like, this is how I approach my moment. The moment I wake up, I simply believe that I am alive to be fascinated. That's it. I'm following my fascination. Doesn't matter if it's the beginning of the world, the end of the world, the middle of the world, whatever part of the world, whatever moment of reality. I am fascinated by what this is. It is the presence of the human lifetime, you know, and every one of you is intentionally here to see the world in a way that nobody else can. And if you care about, if you want to update the system before you leave this system, you need to share it. So when you give the world a moment to breathe, you're also giving yourself a moment to breathe. And we all human beings have to realize that it's the inner realms that's suggesting how the outer realms is happening. That means we have to quickly, as the people of the planet, that means, sure, The leaders of the planet, if you're smarter than us, like figure this out, like get there quicker. But 8.1 billion human beings have to stop identifying as just with the specific content, looping content of their experience. Identify with what it means to be human, means that you are a biological human organism. You have human DNA, and you are consciously experiencing an unknown existence. And this is the most common denominator. That means I don't know who you are. I don't know your personality. I don't know what you like and dislike, but I know you are an organism, and you're experiencing existence consciously based on the range of your awareness. And so when I say we need to give the world a moment to breathe, it's like being like, yo, man, before I claim purpose in accordance to my own views, how many other ways can the moment move? How many other ways is reality actually present? And we need to truly wonder about this. Anyways, folks, thank you for listening. In the name of God, the most benevolent and the most merciful and the most advanced, and to just, I don't know where the world is heading, guys. It is legit Saturday 24, January 24, 4:22 p.m. Okay. And I when I look at turn on the news, I don't know what's going on. I'm Iranian Canadian, do you know? And right now, like, my people are experiencing the most messed up moment in humanity. Well, when I say my people, I will say the people of my cultural program, because I'm a hybrid. Do you know I'm hybridized? I'm Iranian Canadian. That means when I'm in Iran, I'm not 100% Iranian. When I'm in Canada, I'm not 100% Canadian. You know? And they're like, no wonder you became a philosopher. We have to care for the world more than how human ideas can dehumanize it. That means imagine, do you know, there's like there's like two siblings, okay, and one sibling like breaks a vase, and the mother comes and says like, okay, you need to go get punished, go to your room, and then the other sibling laughs. Do you know what I mean? Eventually something pulls us forth towards the greatness of what it all means. I understand that all beings in existence you are serving. You are in some sense, by just existing here, you're being a part of a world that can be looked at. You're being a corner of the cosmos, you know, and you think, your identity is just based on like your cultural program or your inner realms only. Like there's so many ways to look at life, and when you realize it's unknown actually, then you calm down and you're super energetic. Like I don't know how to explain it. Like in my inner realms, I'm very energetic because the outer realms is in God's will, and so to me it's just humorous. It's funny. It's really funny. I'm like, you're telling me in an endless world I'm gonna be here for like 100 years, and then like after this temporary life, it's like I go back to the original state, and I'm like, okay, then what's the point of me existing? And then I'm like, okay, maybe that's it. Maybe the point of it is the expansion of one's horizons, inner horizons, but through outward self, by through the self's outward deployment. So this is what I'm understanding. It, as an introvert and a shy person, okay, that just in my childhood, I don't know, somehow I lived life like that. And it's completely okay because I needed that chaotic, uh, you know, solitude. Because you're lonely until it offends you, then you're in solitude. You just want to be alone. You're offended, you know? It's about what we can do in this world before we leave. In other words, humanity has a bigger lifespan than an individual human. An individual human can serve themselves, all right, but an individual human being can serve humanity. Well done. Like that's I want to see. They're like, yo, man, Mr. Within, what's your vision of humans in the future? I want every human being to live a life where um, uh, at their last breath, they're just hearing applause. Anyways, if human purpose is limited and we can't access divine purpose, we can't know divine purpose, then I see the station and the position of faith. And faith means, all right, I trust the power that moves the world before I have to move myself as an individualized power in a world that's already moving and aligned to it. In other words, we let the world move us, but we realize beyond the world, it's the commands of the system admin. So, what does that mean? If you're a physical being, you're looking for physical truth. If you're an objective being, you're looking for objective truth. If you're a subjective being, you're looking for subjective truth. If you're a being beyond objects and subjects, you're looking for a truth that's beyond objects and subjects. If you believe you're a being beyond conscious understanding, then the question of knowing yourself is no longer possible. Then what does life mean? That means you thought life was about knowing yourself. You're like, okay, that's impossible. All right. So then what's the point of us being here? And then you realize theologically, God commanded man to say the divine names, and all manifestation bowed before Adam and Eve forgot the original authority and listened to a simulated serpent, right? And then their solar descendants were all cast to like a simulated world. So right now we're being tested to see, are we convinced, just like Adam and Eve were convinced by the simulated serpents, or are that solar descendants of Adam and Eve convinced by the simulated world? Or is there more beyond the ideas that denied us greater futures? If your mind can see something that's more advanced than now, it means there's something to live for. Like right now, flying cars don't exist, but because I can imagine flying cars, and because I can imagine the hassle of driving a car in the snow, I could imagine how easy it would be if I was just like in a flying over the snow. Like people didn't have to shovel their driveways anymore. Do you know what I mean? Like I can imagine that. I could even feel what it would like to be in a car, and the car's gonna be like just automated with AI. So I'm gonna run out of the house and be like, "Car, get started and start the heat," and I'm just gonna get in the car, and the car's already gonna be heated up, and the AI is gonna be like, "You don't need to say it, sir. I learned it the first time," you know, like. So I'm saying we're living in a very simple time. You might not understand it. Like even though I'm like starting a gaming stream channel, and I don't know, we have like advanced AI, and there's companies like Boston Dynamics and SpaceX and all this. Like I understand, like this is advanced, but this is pioneer level. We're legit farmers to all those human beings who will have access and be conscious of such layers of information that we will not. But it is important they do not allow technology to intervene through the skull. That means you should not have any technology entering your body, because that's an invasion of the human idea, the natural value to the human idea. Okay, so that's when the whole system must defend. That means it's as if the past cannot be changed. Like the system admin breaks the hands that try to change the past. Even I'm sorry, I shouldn't say it like that. The system admin guides those souls into better realities, who in some sense try to make their reality better by changing the past. You don't need to. Just honorably go forth, and you will realize who you will become will not need The suffering will not have the suffering, because it's like, I don't know how to explain it. When you solve problems, you don't have the suffering anymore. I don't know, like, if you have suffering, you have problems. If you have problems that are looping, then it's not that you have inner problems then, right? And when you have to look at inner problems arise from perception, and perception is really like, okay, if everybody was dependent on you and you were like the most important visionary of humanity, what would you say? You know, in the future, the only type of professorship, like maybe in the future, Harvard comes up to me and they're like, yo, speak about, like, try to teach the younger generations about the evolution of the psyche beyond the human construct. And the only way you can be taught that is if God wills it and you're called towards it. That means not everybody is here to pay attention to the unseen. Most human beings are experiencing life through the basic levels of the seen. What that means is life is not that hard, it's a condition. You got to find the algorithm that satisfies the condition. Once you find the algorithm, the condition satisfies, your condition updates. Now you got to satisfy that condition with a new algorithm. And because we don't need to reinvent the wheel, we have to, in some sense, go see all the newest wheels that have been invented and wonder about what is not invented, and then be like, yo, guys, I gave a lecture. Maybe it's worthy of listening, you know? Anyways, folks, when we give the world a moment to breathe, we allow ourselves for a moment to realize what we are adding to the moment and what the moment actually is. And what the moment actually is so simple that from your inner realms, you kind of, just like the ripples of a pond, they settle, right? And then suddenly there's clarity in the outer realms. Okay. And so if somebody tells me, yo, man, is it natural for me to wake up every day thinking constantly throughout the day, I'm this person and what should this person do? And I'll be like, no, that is not natural. Okay, it is not natural to us. Like, I don't, I like, right now I'm talking to you, I'm not thinking I'm a human being named Amin, using the online alias Mr. Within to speak to a potential human, a whole humanity audience, you know. God willing. To me, the advancement of the whole system means everybody in the system is advances. That means you might not believe it's a design problem. And I think this is why, like, for the longest time, I'm like, why God? Why do I feel like, emotionally not as alert as I am, like, to reality, let's say analytically? And then I realized that's not the case. In my inner realms, I have experienced emotions in the presence of even higher powers. I've blissed out behind my eyes beyond an idea. I've had when I've prayed, I pray in the it's like I've paused the whole world, the video game of life, and in the presence of an unconditional power, which I feel so ashamed because I am nothing compared to it. I bow my head and I have faith that this power is the only power, and everything returns to this power. For this power is the presence of, like, they're like, no way a character in a novel had faith that the author knew how it was going to end the novel, and once you accept destiny, you're free from let's say future failure. I don't know how to explain it to you. Like, you're free from, I don't know how to say it. Like, sometimes life is not how we just see shapes and we color them in with meaning. We generate meaning. It's about not doing anything and watching the moment move first. And when it moves first and it's not your free will, you realize there's something else here. And then when you realize if there's something else that can have an individual relationship, then it's a conditional entity. The only being that can have a relationship with all conditional entities at the same time is the excuse me, is the one and only unconditional being, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which means human beings may continue to hurt each other over ideas that they can never look at them in the same way, but they don't get it that you are in the presence of the system admin. Oh, violent, vicious, chaotic, cruel, do even ignorantly cruel or whatever kind of savage, chaotic, darkness, red lightsaber entities there are in this world, or humans that have gone towards the darker natures of reality. You are in the presence of the highest nature. You are not God, you are in the presence of God. Do you understand what that means? That means you have been given an ability to perform. If your performance is cruel, how do I say it? There's a view in Islam where they say that be merciful to God's creation if you want God to be merciful to its own creation. So I don't know how religions can hurt other human beings like this. See, this is what is bizarre to me. Okay, because of course everybody has different hearts, and only the system admin knows what's in their hearts. And so I don't really know how religious people are being religious. But guys, I'm telling you, if you are heartless, if you how can you say you have faith if you have to go change people? It's like, then why, then you don't have faith in God? do you know and so it's very different having faith in God's words and having faith in God's instant presence. You're in front of God. Oh, religious person who acts holy but is cruel behind its eyes. Do you know? Do you know? Like, you don't get it, guys. You are all being watched. We are ants on a library table, being watched by a librarian that is all knowing. It's the poetry of the realm. Humanity, what the prophets did, what, if people are like Mr. Within in 2026, what obliterated magic, what destroyed magic on earth. And I would say it was divinity, it was prophecy. That means there's a story in Islam of the Prophet Musa, right? And God commands him to go to the Pharaoh and tell Pharaoh that he's not the real God, and to give Pharaoh a warning and try to tell him to, like, open his eyes. And Pharaoh calls all the magicians in the town, and then Pharaoh says, "Yo, man, you're a magician, yo," to Prophet Moses, peace be upon him. Do you know? And so all the magicians come and they do their, like, next level magic or whatever, and they do this illusion of a snake. And the Pharaoh's like, "Yo, look at that. Do you know what I mean? Can you do anything better?" And Prophet Moses is commanded by the system admin directly, "Drop your staff, Moses." And he drops his staff, and it legit transforms as if a higher being commanded it. And the staff turned into a different nature of being. That is the power of God. God can change a being's nature. Do you understand? But you're only limited to your nature until you discover the divine nature. And once you find what religion is pretty much those humans that have faith in an absolute being that is the host of the world. This world was not created by you. You were not created by yourself. The language you use, the name you're given, all the ideas and all the content, the stuff, the symbology was not from you. Do you understand? But how you sequenced them, experienced them, it was as if there was something new living through old patterns that were looping. And that novelty freed itself beyond its ignorance, that itself had to govern a world that was beyond it, doesn't even make sense. We have faith in the most advanced because if we are to be the most advanced, it must begin with the most advanced power. Do you understand my logic? I'm saying, like, yo, man, they're like, how do you build an advanced civilization? I'll say we know one thing at least, that if an advanced civilization means an advanced, a human world and an advanced humans and an advanced humanity, okay, then in some sense, in order for, if everything in an advanced civilization is advanced, then logically the power used to build the civilization must be the most advanced. So we're reaching that point where all those people who support my lectures, either you or your grandkids or whatever, or somebody in your, I don't know, maybe your lineage or something is destined to somehow the genetical memory passes on, or I don't know, like, but I'm telling you, those people who are, like, they are the Mr. with like true Mr. Withinian fans in the future, like in the far future, you know, they're going to realize life is not about what the effect looked like, which is what culture is based on. Life is about how is the moment being caused. That means before I die, I'm like, how am I being alive? You know, They're like, "Are you a philosopher?" I'm like, "No, this is basic human reaction to existing in a world. What is going on?" As far as I'm concerned, unknown world, unknown selves, these unknown selves, appeared as known individual selves. Then they realize how unknown the world was, and our ancestors freaked out, and they're like, "All right, guys, let's like we can't figure this out." But we can tell ourselves a good story, and we can control that story in case people get afraid. And some tech some visions start with good intentions, but who knows what happens in the future. But ultimately, it's faith in the higher power. That means there's human beings acting like alpha, beta, having class distinction, people feeling less, people feeling more, people feeling high, people feeling low. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's so much, there's like legit a hierarchy going on planet, like roller coaster ride, of like all the different ways that human beings are experiencing their positions in reality and in the whole system of their civilization, right? But I'm saying ultimately it's the highest power. So I'm like, okay, so I need the most advanced power to so that the I need so the most advanced individual can in some sense have the most advanced expression, which is the most advanced civilization. In other words, we need to have faith in God, which is the system admin, which means the system admin is building the advanced civilization. We human beings are collaborating consciously. We have system admin privileges as users. And instead of going to the mods, Islam says go directly to the system admin. Why? Because don't why waste your time as an employee talking to the management when the owner's office is right there? Anyways, thank you for listening. In the name of God, the most advanced, excuse me, in the name of God, the most benevolent and the most merciful and the most benevolent and the most advanced. Oh, system admin, some human beings might be freaking out right now. Some of your creation might be freaking out right now. Some of your creation might be ignorant. Some of your creation, might be cruel, vicious, heartless, animalistic, beastly, monstrous, but I am telling you, oh system admin, there are those, among humanity who have in some sense climbed towards angelhood since their birth. Their souls knew you before they knew you. The most advanced do not fear their world anymore when they trust the system admin. In other words, you as a lower power trust the higher power is moving the lower power is also moving itself. The lower power can choose to ignore the higher power, but the higher power is moving the world anyways. And I don't know how else I can explain. The system admin knows what fascinates man in a lifetime of service to the greatness of all of us. That means there's nothing cooler than living for the most advanced humanity, for the most advanced species, for the most advanced civilization, for the most advanced moment. To me, my soul is like a speedster running towards the most advanced states of whatever, wherever it is. Do you know? And once you realize, you activate context shifting, there's a freedom there. Thank you for listening. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Bismillah ar-Rahman.